Okay, very briefly about me. Hi everyone. Today will be a coding kata about trivia, technically focusing on refactoring to object-oriented code. Very briefly about me. What's up with me? My name is Victorenta. I am one of the 2 Java champions in Romania. I'm also very in love with other languages. I'm an independent trainer and consultant since April. This is what I do for a living. I spoke at many conferences. I have a YouTube playlist you can check out. I have a website you can check out. I founded a community, and this event today is actually made possible because I have this community I want to share with them. And since I'm sharing anyway, I will do it in English this time for others to be able to join. What I do for a living, as I said, I'm doing trainings on these topics, technically Java landscape, but also some of which are agnostic to technology. Recently, I also started teaching on Teachable. So if you care to join a webinar that I do, the next one will be 2 weeks from now. It's called Integration Testing with Spring. So these are webinars for mid-senior developers who want to know more and find some best practices and stuff. Good. Enough about me. Let's get to coding. As I told you, feel free to interact with me anytime there is this webinar. I rely on you to have ideas from you. The last time we did this turned out very fun because everyone was speaking different things. So feel free to shoot any kind of things, but in the chat is faster and easier for me to follow. Cool. So I should explain a bit what is a coding kata. Coding kata is an activity you do in order to sharpen your skills and to become better, really. You do it on your own time, and you start from some typical exercise, some initial code, which is actually classic code that you can find in different books. The book that I would recommend to get more examples of this is called the Coding Dojo Handbook by Emily Beck. Any kind of questions you have, and I don't answer, just email me or contact me on Twitter, on Facebook or LinkedIn. I'm all over the place. So let's start. I will leave aside the way that the way in which I construct the unit test, which will ensure that I don't break things when I will refactor this code. How I create that test is a different story. Maybe I will do another webinar, another such meeting for that. How can you know that you've run through all the corners of the logic? The fact is that the coding katas out there are of 3 kinds. One of them is refactoring kata, as we do today, in which you are given a suite of tests that you rely on. The other one are the so-called TDD kata. And the third one are the legacy code kata. Today is the refactoring kata, which assumes that we have a test that runs and covers all our code. So I will take for granted that anything that I change, I won't introduce bugs because I have this test. And I will keep running this test continuously. Now, this literally took out of the picture the fear that we normally feel when we work at production code in our systems. So we are free to experiment and play whatever we want. Cool. So let's start with the beginning, and I would like for you to tell me some suggestions. What should I do first? What should I start with? This is the code and things that you don't like. I will start with the yellow ones because these are quite obvious. A realist is not templatized. Doesn't have the brackets, right? So then I need to find out what is inside this players collection. How can I find out? I can look at the code, but the thing is, in case you ever find a add in such a collection, then in IntelliJ you can generify. So basically, if you add stuff of a certain type to a collection, then you can be sure that it is of that type. So try to generify will automatically will deduce that this is actually a list of string. Actually, it was players. This was generified. Good. Now, this is redundant. Alt enter. You may know already my poetry that I've started to write. In IntelliJ or in any other IDE out there, there is a rule. When it's red, yellow, blue, or gray, Alt enter will save your day. Meaning that anytime there's an error, warning, typo, or something unused, Alt-Enter, quick fix. To be politically correct, I also added other IDE shortcuts for this purpose. I also heavily use Control-1 when I was in Eclipse. So Alt-Enter basically removes the useless stuff. The next one, come on, hints. I will if no suggestion come, I will take my own reasoning and say that I normally don't. Yeah, thank you. It's a list of players. Don't use array list of players, because you know why we use this? Not because we are programming to interfaces as old books instructed us. No, not because of that. It's a good principle, but this is not the real reason we do this. We do this because it's shorter. It's shorter, my friends. This is the only reason why we use it, why we do this in this case. Linked list, oh my God, that was the linked list. Did you saw? Linked list, what the heck? And when you switch to the list, normally you find out that actually add last was not is not a method in the list, but it's a method specific to the linked list. And you don't want to be that specific to the linked list. Perhaps tomorrow you would like to switch from array list to linked list. Sticking to the interfaces would allow us to do this. But honestly, this is what the Kata tries to tell you. But honestly, linked list in production code, 3 times in 14 years, I almost never used it. The only place where you ever think of a list when you use it as a queue, but technically then you will refer to that list as a queue, because it also implements the deck and then the queue. So technically speaking, linked lists used as a list is something very rare, and I will question the use of that. It has to do with performance when adding and removing from the head of or the end. But technically speaking, in normal code, you almost never use it. Remove first. This will translate in remove the index 0. So remove 0. Note that I'm using Alt-J, which is multi-cursor. You select a token, and then you can, IntelliJ will mark all the tokens, so then you have multiple cursors, no? So this is super cool feature. One of the best features that made me move to IntelliJ from Eclipse. Now, equals between strings is bad, of course, equals. So we will do a bit of mouse-driven development. There you go. Excellent. Good. Let's see. And then perfect. Let's run the tests, right? Because we've been a while coding here. Let's see. Invert them. Yes. Astrid had, as I did, a rough life, and he knew that if current category returns null, then it will get a null pointer exception. So flip. This is called the Yoda notation. You know, Yoda, the green guy, the green little fellow, used to speak the backwards, right, with a weird topic in a phrase. So there you go. Nice. What else can I do here? Not much, honestly. Pretty remove of 0 and print line. Technically speaking, I could do something here if we focus more. I don't like if, you know, there is a repeating bit of code here that I'm pretty sure I can take out of it. This system out. Technically speaking, we could do some. Side note, whatever you take out on print line is, yes, brackets, but whatever you take out on print line, it is recorded by the test. So basically the system out is, look, I can prove that to you. And actually it's a good idea to try to break the test that you rely on from time to time, just to see that if they are there. So running again will tell me that there are a difference, there is an extra symbol that I've just added. So tests are fine, are there, and mind that any system out is important for us. You said brackets. Why? Because you might have a colleague coming from Python, right? Yes, I agree. Brackets are good for your health. I've just clicked after a parenthesis where the bracket should be, Alt enter, and there you go. First suggestion is to add. Switch on strings, they are mutually exclusive. Switch on string. Yes, good. I could do a switch. That could be one way, one trick. But first, let's remove the redundancy, the duplication of the code. To remove it, I could do the following, but this would be a refactor that I do Tarzan style without the IDE helping me. I will say s out, printing out a string. I'm not entirely sure. These are question, yes, question. But then if I do this, I need question to be initialized here. And I will define string question. Now, I will commit a terrible mistake, and then move further. And wherever I print line directly with Alt-J, very carefully, surgically, I might say, I will do this. I will press End key, left, delete, escape, done. Tests, and now run the tests and see if they are correct. Let's see. Yes, good. Now, why did I say that this is a terrible mistake? Because you see, technically speaking, here is not entirely obvious, but is it right to print a null question on the console? It's strange, I would say. It's quite strange. So then what I would prefer instead, or whenever I can, is to leave the local variable uninitialized. In any languages out there, the local variable uninitialized, except JavaScript, will crash the compilation. Will say, what the heck, you might end to line 106 without anything in the variable. So this will force you to think of the missing case, right? Then there is something missing here. To highlight it better, I will first say that if current category equals pop, then it can't possibly equal to science also. But note that there's a fine decision here. I am tempted to put else word here. But the else word added here might not entirely be correct. There might be a possible bug here because, you know, the condition that must be true in order for this not to cause a bug is that current category returns the same result here and here. This is so-called the pure function, should return the same result 2 times. But given the current category just returns me something based on my current state and doesn't change anything and doesn't change the return, but you need to investigate this a bit. Right? Given that, let me check. Look, now in this case, this is a magic stuff that folks from JetBrains were kind enough to provide us. They technically inferred that the invocation of this method is a pure call, meaning that doesn't do side effects and returns the same value for the same parameters. This is an inferred annotation by IntelliJ. It figured out that this function would return the same stuff. Yes, we will do the map also, Alexandra, very good. But let's first play with this, because between the map that you suggest and a switch, I would prefer the switch. Let's see with reasons, with explanations why. Up until now, I'm just moving further, and because current category is pure, I am free to do this. Nice. Next one. If you do an if, and then you do exclusive checks on each branch, IntelliJ will figure out that this might be replaced with a switch statement. And then you click, there you go. Nice. So between switch and ifs, you are free to choose what you like. Good. But then, if you know me, I have these weird rules about switches, and to me, for a switch to be clean, to be hygienic, I would say. Let me search for hygienic in this presentation. I will keep hygienic. Let's see if I type it correctly. Hygiene. I'm searching for a switch is hygienic when by default it has a default clause which shows in case we don't find anything. Right? This is called Jesus-driven development. I hope never to go to the default. Then my next rule is that each case has one line or one instruction, which is currently the case, as you see. I only have one instruction here. But the third rule is the most difficult one. The switch is the only instruction in the method. And if you do this, you recover love and you start loving switches again. And you love them even more if you switch to Java 14. But anyway, by the way, Java 15, I think, made them officially non-experimental. But what I want to yes, SonarLint will warn you about the missing default. How do you add the missing default to a switch? After the last case, Alt-Enter, Enter. So again, Alt-Enter driven development. This is what we're doing here, folks. Then how do we make this switch the only instruction in this method? Well, there is one more instruction, you see, and I'm very hard on this. I will extract this again. Our main refactoring tools are rename stuff and extracting methods. This should be like instinct for you. Whenever something is fishy, extract. And then I will name this get question. Why not? Although I'm pretty allergic to get verb, get, but maybe it's hard to say anything like extract question, because I see I remove something, right? Extract next question. Yeah, that's better. Extract. So always squeeze a bit your brain. Don't just get. Okay. Okay, extract next question. And there you go. If you manage to put your switch in a separate method, then look what follows. If you look closer, since nothing after, you can move the returns inside the cases. You can do this rapidly with IntelliJ by moving return closer to computation. Ta-da! This is quite amazing, the job that it does here. And even more, if you were on Java, you know, Java that you are not yet there, 14, for example, or 14. By the way, do any of you, look, in 14 is not non-experimental, it's final in the end. Do any of you, I mean, what versions of Java do you use? I'm really curious. If you care to answer on chat. And if you are on Java 14, then IntelliJ will suggest you to replace 8. Yeah. Will suggest you to replace switch expression. Like, whoa, what the heck was that? Okay. So this is returning a switch, an expression. So switch became from a statement an expression. Like in many other languages, like Kotlin or Scala, return the switch. Basically, a switch now returns something. And note there's a different syntax. There's an arrow instead of the semicolon. Second, nice. Okay. So then this is cool, nice. It goes in the spirit of Java 14 and plus. 1.6, good. Now, this question variable doesn't need really to be there. You can inline it. And this is actually the method that ends up. Let's run the tests just to be sure. Cool. Next one. It's more of a function and less of a statement in 14. Yeah, it's more like a function because it returns. Now, Maven hits me here. I have an issue because this is a Maven project. And to my knowledge, I need to be here release if I'm not mistaken. And I need to have, okay, this was not intended. This was not intended, but let me see if I can fix it. 14. I think I should be enough. And with proper setting in the, come on, we can do it. And the proper setting here, 14 here, and just to be sure, 14, it should work. And now run the test again. And I should be good. Let's see, 3, 2, 1, and come on. And incredible, green, excellent. Now, this is good. But the purpose of today's refactoring, so you already see that this exercise has many possible differences. No, Java 14 is not long-time support, as I mistakenly believed. No, Java 17. I thought from 3 to 3 releases Java, but no, it's from 3 to 3 years. They give us a long-time support. So the focus today would be, the focus today would be to discuss about OOP, how to refactor stuff to OOP. So we'll move to that, but this kata has many possible ways. You can do it functionally, you can do it OOP, you can focus on doing small little functions with all sorts of restrictions you can put to yourself. Like, for example, you are not allowed to use ifs. There are many kinds of restrictions you can try out there. Okay, now, we reached 100 participants, but it's stuck to 100. I fear that they are denying the rest one. Anyway, let's focus on the OOP. See what's OOP in here. Well, so we have this list of questions. Good. Okay, Margaret told me something new. That is, if you switch on an enum, I will share the line that he typed in the chat. If you switch on an enum, you don't need the default case. Believe it or not, try it out. If you switch on an enum in Java 14 plus, right? Java 14 plus with an expression, then you don't need a default case. If you and return the value, these are the conditions. You switch on an enum and you return the switch, then you don't need a default. Java can statically check at compilation that you've covered all the enum values, which is amazing. The default on enum is gone in Java 14, which is by far the best addition of Java 14, in my opinion. Next one. Well, let's see. We have questions. Good. We have a current player equals 0. We have a game in which we initialize. This is the constructor. We initialize stuff. Okay. Then we have a function which is not called. Excellent. Delete. You don't think. You just delete. This is again one amazing difference from the Eclipse. It just tells you it's not used. Kill. Now comes the fun part. When you add a player name to the game, what happens is that this string is added to the collection of players. Okay, I'll try to keep it as agnostic to the language from now on. I'm adding I'm adding a string to a collection, and then I'm initializing places of how many players. What the heck is this? In this situation, you see, this method actually makes the code harder to understand. So I will inline it in this case. This just to see what was there. Okay, places of players.size. Wait. Players.size, but I've just added a player. Let me see. What's the initial contents of the players list? It's empty, of course. So after I've added the first player, then the size becomes 1, right? Size becomes 1. And then places of 1 equals 0. Okay, what is places? It's an array of 6 elements. Okay. So technically here I'm writing on for the first player at least, I'm writing on the places of 1, right? For the first player, I'm setting this value. Good, okay. So I'm changing this field, interesting. Then I'm also updating another array and another array. I am changing 4 pieces of information at once, which are the players, which is a list of strings. And by the way, this is badly named. It's not players, it's just player names, right? So Astrid already sensed it. I'm changing 4 pieces of data for each new player. Whoa. Sorry, DSI, this killed me. I will switch to another platform this next time, probably WebEx, sorry for that. So Zoom can only host 100%, but it will all be recorded. Good. Players, names that add, and then Astrid told me that this could become a class. Good. Well, okay, we see it, but how do we do it? Now, whenever you come to refactoring, you typically have more refactoring styles, I would name them. One refactoring style is the so-called Tarzan styles. The Tarzan style refactoring goes like, fast, moving fast, breaking things. The other extreme would be the Swiss watchmaker, which is very careful what it does. The surgeon, right? The surgeon, very carefully, the neurosurgeon. Now, although Tarzan might be faster on the short term, because he runs so fast, right? Then the problem is that from time to time, Tarzan goes like this. And this is why you don't want Tarzan in your team. So Tarzan style refactoring in this case would go like, hiya, poof. You saw what I did? I've just deleted 4 lines. Folks, I might spend half an hour making it compile again. Yeah, I need a team of Tarzan. It's a mess. I won't be able to finish it by far. I think maybe even 1 hour. It's hard. And the worst part is that if you now try to use refactoring options in IntelliJ, look what happens here. Look just now, player names, and I clicked rename. It automatically renamed it to player name. Why? What the heck is that? But basically, IntelliJ or any other IDE, if you make your code uncompilable, the automatic refactoring will start breaking, will start failing you. So you don't want to break compilation when you refactor code. Not more than several minutes at most. Don't break compilation. And there are techniques that I will show you some of them now. I also have a refactoring webinar recorded on Teachable when I show more of these techniques, how to go in and slowly change the code. So I will start by not deleting code, but adding code. And I'll start by adding a class now in the same file to be easy to follow. This class player, I feel that it must have a name. And I will create a string name. Now, I want all of you from now on until you retire, okay, 40 years from now, I want those 40 years, any variable you define in a class to be by default private final. This is how you start with them. All the variables in a class that you create, you should be by default initially private final. Of course, some frameworks won't be happy about this. Of course, you might need getters or maybe even setters at some point. But your initial attempt would be to create private final fields all the time. Okay, then we will start small, just with the name. Since it's final, of course, it needs to be taken to the constructor. There you go. I will keep from using Lombok this time, but yeah, public. If we were in Java 14, wait a second. Can I do this with you today? I'm a bit afraid, but let's try. Record. Yeah, why not? And then record, does it work? Does it work? Come on, what's wrong with me? Record player, and I think it, yes, let's see. Why don't you like to switch to the Java language 14? Thank you. Switch player of string name. And the Kotlin users will be very happy, so as the TypeScript user. So it will be, this is the record player with a string name. Let's see, duplicate. I have another player? Get out, out. Previous run. By the way, I've done this Kata, I think more than 50 times with different teams, with different, as I do this clean code, and we work on different topics. I use this all the time. Record of a name. Is this equivalent to exactly a data class and exactly a case class in Scala? So it's exactly, Java finally woke up and saw like, where are the languages? And the languages were running, no? Let me run after them. And finally they gave us, but actually they didn't yet give us. They are still experimental in Java 14. They will be official where? Not even in 15 would you have it. Probably until 17 you might enjoy them. Okay, player name. Then this is a private final. Okay. What's next? I want to replace the usage of this list of strings with another list. Not what I'm doing. I'm creating. Okay, player. This is players, and Kodota will be very handy here. Players equals. Players equals new array list, and then whenever, now, I first add the new data to my game, and then I make sure that from the, so my goal, you got it, right? My goal is to move from player names to players. But I don't want to kill the field. Yeah, no, I don't want that. Instead, I want to progressively migrate. The first thing you do, as well as in a database migration, when you want to move them from one column to maybe split them in two columns, the first thing you do, you add the new columns, checked. Then you make sure whenever you write to the old column, you write to the new columns also. So here, when I add the player names, I will also add to players.add of a new player of player name. By the way, for those of you, probably more than half of you are using Lombok, so this is pretty much equivalent to what value gives you in Lombok. Private final fields plus getter, setters, hash code equals to string. By the way, they are all there, but you just can't see them. And yeah, I'm really curious right now. I will try something out with you. If I look at the bytecode, what would I see? A second, missing a semicolon, come on. Okay. Go up and then let's see bytecode for you. View bytecode for a player. What will happen? What would I see? What gets compiled? Let's see what I get in the player class. I get a constructor. I get a toString, nicely created with name and blah blah blah. I get a hash code, custom created. I get an equals and I get a name. Opa, the getter is called name. No more get name. Phew, we finally get rid of that. I'm not seeing the code change. I did not do any code change. This is done on under the hood by the Java compiler. When you compile this, you get what you just saw in the bytecode. Okay, so this is written on the disk, but not in the. Now, next, I've added to the player names. I will then look. Do I add or remove or do anything else changing the collection of player names? And this is where you should look very careful to see what do you do with that. look really carefully, add, then this size, get. I'm only reading, you see, only reading from it, reading. So since I'm only reading from the player names collection, it is now, only now, when I can switch from reading from the old collection to reading from the new players list. Let's give it a try. So player names dot size. Again, first I run the tests. Then I will commit. I will say about to start replacing player names list with players list. Cool. And good. Actually, you know what I'll do? I will commit locally, just commit, and then like this. Okay, for faster commit, I will just do this for a moment. Good. Next one. Read from it. I mean, I will change here, instead of inspecting player names, I will say players. Just in one place. Try it out. So you see, little changes, little exploration. See what happens. Does it work? Yes, good. And then now we have courage. Okay, player names. Everywhere where I see player names dot size, Alt J everywhere. I will just say players. Yeah, now cat. Okay, good. There you go. Nice. By the way, I've asked the people, the smart people, the good people, the people that I've asked what is the top plugin they love in IntelliJ, and I was expecting smart things, really smart things. But the one which was clearly the highest vote was the Nyan Cat. To my shame, I didn't have it installed. The next thing I did, I installed it myself. I can't. What so? Let me. I don't want to go there. But anyway. Now I'm inspecting the size of from the players collection, not player names. I will look further. Is it used anywhere else? Let me see. Yes, it's used in get of current player. Okay, what would player names dot get give me? It will give me a player name. So I would assume that this would be similar to doing player dot get name. I don't have a get name. Just name, right? And then go. Nice. This kind of smells like Scala a bit. But anyway, or Kotlin. Cool. And then this kind of worked. So this should be the replacement for wherever I have this part. Note that I don't do blind control find replace, but I'm more of a fan of manually seeing all the places and Alt J is a good tool for that. Replace everywhere, run. How smooth the things go, right? And let's see, great job. Now, what's left? Player names, where is it still used? In just this line. This is the only usage of the player names, where I'm adding to the player name. We've reached the moment in which we read and write from the new list, but the old list became just written to. In that moment, exactly as in a database migration, you will, wait, is there a way to refresh the screen? No, really. Can't you see my, wait a second. Is there lag? I mean the screen. Can you see me typing like a madman? Okay, good. So it's on you then. Cool. Then player names add. Now, just like in a database migration, when you've written and read from the new columns, then the old column can be safely removed along with the writes. But first, don't write to it anymore. I've deleted that line. And at that moment, the collection became completely unused. It's grayed out. And this is where you can delete it. Bye-bye. You know how I do it? Without breaking compilation, not a single second, not a very single second. I've completely, smoothly migrated it to use the new players. By the way, why is it private? Cool. Now, next one. I should suggest that we should put all the name and this tree in the new class. So let's go with the next one. Places. Okay, places. Well, places of this means place, actually. So in this case, I would also need a place. an int place. But let's see how if it works. Now, when you create it here, you see 0. Okay, it's 0. This is what I put in the array. This is what I put in the class. Good. Then I would like to do the same trick to go. Oh, pardon. To go, sorry, to go with places, and yeah, that was an atomic bomb, by the way. To go with places and see where it's used. So players, where are you? Places of, this is just accessing, this is just my line. This is places of a current player. Shit, pardon. Oops, we have a problem. This, my friends, is called an assignment. This assignment will get us into trouble because if we try to migrate to a record is immutable, just like value is, or data in Lombok. Like in Kotlin, the class by default, or in Scala, the case class. So the record player is immutable. In the case it's immutable, I can't change the place. Then we are in trouble. We need to give up using records, unfortunately, because we just saw that we need to update the place. It's quite obvious, right? We update the place, which move the player. Whoa, so then this would mean that we should revert back to a class player. With great sorrow, we do this, and we say this, and let me keep, look how I do this refactor also. If we have private final name, this private I already saw it can't be final, but just to make the migration as smooth as possible, I will do it like this for a second. Alt enter, add constructor parameters, both of them are there. Good. Now, I migrated from the record to a player. What's next? Let's see what else breaks. Oops, the getter is missing. Cool. So I can create it by alt enter, create method, name, and then return, surprise, surprise, name. Alt enter, correct the type. Fixed. Just alt enter. I've just typed 4 characters. That's it. Cool. Then, is there any other error left? No, no any other error. So when I create the player here and I pass in the place 0, this is an initial value for the field. We need more than the name for the constructor. Since we are creating new players, do we need more than the name? Exactly, this was my conclusion. If the place by default is 0, 0 is the default value for any integer field you define. So I can remove these parameters, but how do you remove it? Control F6 or change method signature. Right? Most of these refactors that we do here are available also in Visual Studio or Visual Studio Code or Eclipse. Place, remove. Where are you? Place, remove. Bye-bye. Refactor. Continue. Destroy. The parameter was destroyed. This just needs to be deleted and we're done. And since we want to do baby steps, I will initialize this to 0. We do know that it won't remain final, but we try to forcefully keep ourselves to the least amount of change in the code as we go on. So tests are still green, deserves a commit already, right? Removed the player names. Plus, no, this was the big change that we did. Next one, places. So this line we so this is where we wrote to the array of places. Remember the flow. We move the updates to the new class. But then let me focus next. What are the other places in which we change it? Places of a current player equals places of a, oh my God, this guy didn't know about the plus equal. Excellent. Plus equal role. If places of the current player more than 11, and then you're missing a bracket here, alt enter, enter. Nice. Then places of a current player equal places of the current, oh, come on. This is minus equal, please. Cool. Now, this is actually where we update the place here. Let's look for other places. Look, there is down below another occurrence of when we change. So you get it, right? I look where I updated. Oh, very good, Octavian. But wait a second. First of all, here. But how did you figure out? Interesting. Octavian suggested to put here more or 11 than 12. Super cool. By the way, some of you have some big eyes now looking, what the heck happens here? Folks, this is a geekery, right? The things we do when we are geek. When we are geek, we discover about font ligatures, right? And we found out that there are some fonts out there that if you enable ligatures, even though they are composed of 2 characters, actually, they are displayed differently. So don't be scared. This is not a different character. This is just a merged character, but it's a geek. So more than equal. You say 12, but let's postpone this just for a second. Let's first make sure we simplify the code. And this is, I need a bracket here, thank you. And then minus equal, oh my God, this is the identical code. What the heck is going on? This is the very identical code as above. Oops, a daisy. Now, what do you do when you see duplicated code in the same class, close to each other? What do you do? By reflex. Don't even think. It's like Pavlov's dog, right? The bulb lights up and you start drooling. The same extract method, exactly. You don't even think. And you say, now comes the hard part. Squeeze, squeeze. What the heck is this? This is like move player. But move player, it could work. But you know, you are actually advancing the player. Advance, right? Advance, because you increase something. But for now, let's stick to move player. It's good enough. And when you extract, of course, any IDE out there, any IDE in a dynamic language, even JavaScript works this. The IDE will figure out there is a duplicated piece of code by abstract syntax tree analysis, and it will propose you to replace both of them, of course. Move player, they are both places, the same methods call. Cool. So we replaced duplication, but this was not thinking, this was reflex, my friends. Next occurrence. Places of a current player equals 0, then return pop. Really? Places? Yeah, I'm testing. This is not an assignment. This is a testing of what's the value. Cool. Let's run it again, the search. Are we done with where the places are being written to? Let's look again. Roll. This is just a read. This is plus equal. This is, yes, we've covered this, but now comes the fun part. Looking at all the occurrences, the only places in which we actually change the array is here when you initialize it, and here, technically speaking, here and here. So we need to, in these 2 places, to come and update our own place in the new player class. How do we do this? Well, let's go there. And by the way, another benefit of extracting a method is that you don't need to change it in 2 places. Of course, you just need to change the method, the only one method. So let's, I will just change the update. I mean, not change, add updating of the players dot get of current player dot what? Let's try the old Java beans style. We'll say, but just feel the pain now. Just feel the pain. Set place of the players. My God, he really does that. Really, in front of us. How can he do this? I'm sketching the dreaded getters setters anti-pattern +1. Anti-pattern. It's too much to say that, but it's a disease in Java. I must say. Set place, get place. Cool. Really nice. And Astrid suggested move. Interesting. So, exactly, Paul. Exactly. This is what we want to go. Paul suggested tell, don't ask principle. In OOP, tell, don't ask principle literally says you don't need to query. Tell, don't ask. Don't ask state out of an object. Tell it what to do. So instead of querying the data of where are you, where is your place, and then telling it what to do instead, I would better move. I mean, just tell the player to move, right? Cool, but how can you do this in an elegant way? Let's first write it like this, and then we'll see if we can push it there. If we have getters and setters like this, then, but by the way, we started with using the records, but since we are let's go to the player now and create the getters and setters for the name, for the place, just for the getter you create like this. You are probably used of creating alt insert and then getters and setters. Don't do this anymore, please. Instead of that, just selectively generate the getters that you need by just, this also works in Eclipse. Just type the name of the getter, enter, and you get the getter by default, automatically. But we don't need just the getter, we also need the setter, you feel? So then if we need to modify this place, then this doesn't need to be final anymore. And the setter comes in your keystrokes, just like, give me a setter. Blah, 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 blah. There you go. Cool. This kind of fixed it, right? In a weird, ugly way, but kind of done it. Where is my code here? Set place of the, good. Let's survive this a moment and let's move on. But again, I'm also burning to kill it now. But I want to also show you and tell you to keep, try to do the tiniest possible steps, even if it hurts your eyes, even if you scream, even if you're like, freaking mother, you are so tempted of doing OOP, but just hold on a second. And this would mean to decrease 12. What did you say here? Name is a getter place. Yeah, indeed. There should be a place. Very well noted. To have this same naming convention, let's name it like this. And of course, you can make setters with the same, do the same idea. Good. Now, we say role instead of +1. Thank you. Mistake, my bad. But I would end up with a failing test for sure. But since you are so many, I can't possibly do any mistake, right? 100% programming. That's mob programming, my friends. Okay, test didn't break anything yet, but now comes the fun part. Just now I have covered all the places when we change the array. Now I should move to switching the read to go to the new one. The simplest possible way is here. Exactly here. I could say here that instead of places of current player is players, get of a current player, dot place. Does it work? And if it works, it means I really managed to. Yeah, let's see. Dun, dun, dun. Yeah, cool. It worked. Now, we need to get rid of all the reads out there, right? To replace all the reads. So this actually will go like Alt-J. Technically, it's so duplicated that it hurts my eyes. So let's bear with it for a second. This is like players of get, and I'm typing this for the 4th time, player of current player, dot place. Cool, for tests. But again, I'm typing players dot get current player for many times already. So when I do this, extract current player method everywhere. Should I replace this all? So what did I get? Let me show you here. Current player dot place. Perfect. Excellent. Now comes the fun part. We need so technically now, let me check again. We don't read anymore from the place. We only, let me just check that. No, we do here. Okay, good. This would be current player, but the method. Excellent. Dot place. Thank you. And the same thing here. Cool. And then you note what I'm left with, only with write. So there is no more read here. Yes, there is a lot of duplication, and we won't finish in the remaining 11 minutes. That's my point, to leave it open for it to continue. But at that moment, right now, we only change it here and downward. I first run the tests before I do the big bang, before I kill the field. Nothing breaks yet. Destroy here. Then go down. Where are you? Alt F7. I did it in the wrong sequence. Alt F7 here, and just delete everything. Did you know that you can change the code here also? I did not know until recently. This is quite interesting, quite convenient. You are relaxed if you do this. Nice, cool. And after we've done that, the field becomes unused. You see, grayed out. Alt enter, enter, and you're done. But you're not entirely done, of course, because you said already about tell, don't ask, meaning that the move of the player is not well suited here. Where is my move? Here, there you go. Now, I'm pretty sure all of you can move this method in the player class without any problem, but I would like to still show you the smoothest way to do it. It's a bit tricky, but it's a sequence of steps that is very, very useful. Also applicable to Eclipse 100%. F4. Yeah, but F4 doesn't work. To F4, I'm trying to, or F6 you mean, to move. But there is a refactor, move stuff. Where is move? Are you there? Move means this method, but it doesn't yet work because in order for it to work, you will see in a moment the magic. But just first, pay attention to my steps. I will create a new variable. I know it's a bit strange, but I will replace the method call to the player. What I did, I've just extracted from the code below. Exactly. I extracted from the code below this part. And then if I extract this again to another method, I will get move player. I will name the method again, refactor. Look the method, how it looks. Of course, it took the player as a parameter. And now comes the fun part. Of course, this one I would inline the variable there, bye-bye, inline. You noted already, right, that all my shortcuts that I'm typing are displayed down there. And now comes the interesting part. If you now try to move this method, IntelliJ or Eclipse will figure out, I'm not sure about the others, probably yes, will offer you to move this method in the player class because it figures out if there is a logic there and you get a parameter player, why not pushing this logic in the player class? Make it public, refactor. Now, this actually moved the modification of my field inside the player class. Look what comes next. To call your own getter, it's a bit strange. I don't like that. I will inline the getter here, access directly the field. Then I will inline the setter too. The code might be weird to you because you were used to setter being set in place. But in the moment that you inline the last one, something incredible happens. The mutator, the accessor, the setter of the field place is no longer referenced. This, my friends, is game one. This means you've won the game. This means you were able to control the transition, to change. Because you see, this here is a constraint, is an invariant. First, let me delete the setter and then explain some more. This move, by the way, move player, how does it read? Current player dot move player. This is redundant, right? So just move. There you go, better. Now, this move method, what does it do? It takes, by the way, this dot, if I can avoid it, avoid it. And then plus equal, and then minus equal. Now coming back to what some of you suggested back a while, this could be rewritten as greater or equal than 12 if and only if place is integer. If it's integer and it's greater than 11, then it's of course greater or equal to 12. Nice. And now it becomes obvious what happens here. There are 12 positions, and if you run past the 12th, then you come back to 0, basically. It's like in monopolies, you know, you are running rounds and rounds on the same table. So this actually is a constraint, is an invariant telling you that place can never be greater than 12. And the moment that you put this invariant inside the player class, it's a great victory because you are able to construct in your model little bits of, can't you set it to 12 minus place? What? Yeah, I think you could. Yeah, that's a trick. Yeah, that's a trick. Very good, Paul. Super cool. But this also requires you to realize that roll can never be greater than 12. Oh, actually, can't here either. Good catch, 12 minus, good. But coming back here, the victory of today, because this is actually the last point that I would like to do with you today. Yeah, Dragan, this also works. Yeah, Dragan. The geeks among you say, you can do this, my friend. Actually, it's like something like equals, no, the last part, this one, right? It's the same thing. Yeah, I know you can write it in way more complicated and unreadable way for 100% of the developers. But honestly, this is quite good. But again, coming back to my point, you are able to enforce the little constraints invariants inside the methods of an object. This is a game one because you are able to disseminate the constraints and rules and logic of your application in many, many little classes. So working with the move method now is safe from all the clients of the player class. From whoever calls this method can't ever get past 12. So this is a extraordinary benefit from this. So instead of pushing further, since we have 4 more minutes only, folks, what I propose myself to do is to continue these katas. So I will do 1 kata per month. This is my goal. And continue from where I left the previous katas and dig more. And we'll do episodes like this, right? So a retro of today. This is what I want to do instead. Retro of today. What we did. First of all, we extracted method like hell, continuously. We renamed stuff. We took this approach of baby steps. This was actually the most important point today. Baby steps. Don't break compilation at any moment, like if possible, while refactoring. Okay. Even if the code that you create, you see that it hurts your eyes, it's terrible, you start crying, but bear with it. Don't break compilation. You stick on green tests, don't break tests, pay attention what you're doing. It's more important not to break stuff than to do amazing magic, right? Extract method, rename. What we did, move method. You remember when we moved it to player.move. Then we enforce the invariants inside of it with invariants. One other hard point, switch expression if possible. The rules, the 3 rules, right? One line, okay, in real life can be 2 lines, 1 lines per case, 2, default, 3, no extra code in that method. Except the, this is our more personal rules for the switch. Cool. What we did, let me check. We use Alt-J, multi-cursor, super cool feature. We replaced duplicated code, but this was like reflex, right? Replace duplicate. Inline, exactly, inline. Extract and inline go together. Yes, Astrid says, confesses that always has a tissue box next to him when he works on legacy code. Cool. Good. Let's see, what else did we do? One important point. Whenever you create a new class, any field you create, let it be private final at the beginning. And see whether you can survive with these. Some frameworks won't agree with you having final, like Hibernate will be pretty unhappy with that. What else did we do? Yes, I will share the link to the PPT with that slide. Switch expressions, yes, records. We've seen records, but then we reverted from them because they are immutable. Java 15 plus, actually 16 plus, immutable structs, finally. What else did we do here? And we'll continue this exercise because it's cool. List and array list and linked list and this stuff, but we didn't do much of it. We're still left to continue this one. Cool. Folks, since it's 1 minute next to it, not creating, yes, good. Not creating, good point. Not creating getters and setters. And if you have to make them create them individually. And I showed you how. By just typing their name, and you get by default suggestions from IntelliJ or Eclipse to generate getter and setter. Folks, abadi, that was about all. It's 1 hour sharp, but don't be sad. I will tweet and post this on my social network. This code, the original code, if you want to continue, and I beg that you continue from here on, there will be a follow-up. I will continue from where I left here several months from now, so stay tuned. This will be published on YouTube. Isn't design kata another kind of it? Design kata is not a coding kata technically. In my understanding, design kata is something you do with your pen in your hand in paint or on a wall. It's a cool exercise, but it's not coding. Good. Thanks. Thank you very much. And I promise next time I will make sure there I use a platform that can host more than 100. I didn't expect. Okay. Thanks. Bye. Have a nice day. See you. So on my social networks, I'll post the code, the slides, and soon the recording link.